or a study that was done by the Aga Khan University concerning exploring sexual and gender-based violence against women in sports in Kenya. And of course, the impacts and interventions. So that study was done, and of course, it was done by, and remember, it was commissioned by the President's advisor on matters rights, and of course, provided a direction in terms of what needs to be done next. Remember, 63% of the respondents from this particular report remember, there are people who were known in this particular issue. Now, this event that was held earlier this week in Eldoret City in Uasin Gishu County, presided by, of course, Harriet Chigai, who is, of course, the women's rights advisor to the president. It has become apparent that 37% of the sexual GBV cases, emotional abuse 20%, and of course 18% exploitation, 10% physical violence 6%, and of course sexual harassment 1%. This was statistics done, of course, by the Aga Khan University. It's a report, a complete report that was done. Now, fans and coaches account for the largest percentage of most notorious perpetrators of sexual and gender-based violence at 38% and 21% respectively. Now, 48% of the respondents believe more needs to be done to tame the rising cases, as the report shows there is lack of awareness and education on what constitutes SGBV and offenses. Let's listen to the President Advisor on Women's Rights, and together also with the AK President.
When I stand for women,
the issue of GBV in sports is complex and multifaceted. It requires a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of violence, provides support for survivors, and promotes culture of respect and safety for all. Athletes, particularly the female athletes, often face unique vulnerabilities. The presence or the pressure to perform, the demanding training schedules, the power imbalances within the sports ecosystem create an environment ripe for abuse.
It is true that women are more vulnerable even in our situation. That has been proven, even in the report that has been given here. And these are extreme violent cases of abuse in athletics that we have experienced.
The young men have refused to push themselves to match up with the strong, upcoming girls. Young men in this room, stop being shy.
I want only to advise at least that stop exchanging boyfriends. That is the challenge. I remember I was asking one coach last week, part one, why did you decide to marry this girl why did you try to take away the wife of that young athlete? He said, but that athlete gave me the wife, and I decided to marry her. And now we are living happily. Thank God that we have cancelled the man who has left the wife, and he has accepted to give out that wife. So it is a big challenge. At least try to be yourself. When you have one boyfriend, die with that one boyfriend. Don't roka here and there and there. That is the problem we have here.
The report by Ministerial Committee on Gender Welfare and Equity in Sports revealed that training camps are mostly managed by men. 76% of the managers and technical teams are male, with the remaining 24% being women. The report further revealed 80% of federations are run by men, with women left to run only about 20%. So you can see the imbalances and why the issues of the femininity in sports is not being handled. This leaves the female athletes, who most of the time are young and inexperienced, under the mercy of the male coaches, teammates, and managers, who at the time are listed as abusers. The report recommended the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports to ensure camps are run and managed by women. It further identified retired female athletes who can train, coach, and mentor the rising talents.
Some of these victims were living not in an official way. Because when you ask the parents, for example, where is your child? They don't know where the child is. So it is a matter of come we stay.
State Department of...
Now, that come we stay, nobody, the parents do not know where their children are. They have not gone back to the, you know, in the African culture, we have got a way of bringing people together or getting people to stay together, whether in marriage or whatever it is. But when the parents do not know, then who else would know? Even we in athletics, how do we get to know? And therefore, the parents, guardians, have got to be involved in this, and particularly education.
We are talking about the girl child. When will we give the boy child the platform to speak? Wakati gani kijana ataongea? Madam Chigai, you'll address that maybe when you come. When will we give them the platform? They speak. Wakati vijana wanaitwa hapa kijana na msichana, mnaona huyu kijana hata hawezi angalia huyu msichana kwa macho. He is shy and he is the man. So wacha tupe pia vijana nafasi waweze kujisema, kama wako na makasiriko waongee, ndio tuweze kuwaelewe, ndio tuweze kujua how are we going to address these menace.
There is the need to review the laws and regulations within the sports industry, cutting across board. There is need to review the conduct of coaches by putting in place standards of who can coach. There is need to register and regulate all coaches and putting a proper database in place. There's the need to make the relationships between the coaches and the athletes and put barriers to such conduct. Just like the doctors and patients relationship, we should make such relationships criminal in nature. International coaches must also be licensed and properly registered and regulated. All awards must be deposited in the name of the athlete and not the coaches. This will stop exploitation of athletes. Proper contracts between the athletes and their coaches must be reviewed and deposited with Athletics Kenya and any other regulatory body. Like all other professional coaches, fees must be regulated.
That is, of course, Harriet. Let me just get the name correctly. Ndio sasa nisitumiwe maneno. So that is Harriet Chigai, who is the President's advisor on women's rights. We also had the Athletics Kenya President or Chairman, Lieutenant retired General Jackson Tuwei, of course, amongst other leaders and civil society on matters to do about GBV, sexual in sports. So